Hey, all, welcome to Gadfly, the podcast about third parties, French candidates, and just generally weird American electoral history. I'm Dusty Wilson.
I'm Una O'Leary.
And Una, it is, I don't know how the Ohio midterms are going to turn out or the primaries tomorrow because we're recording this on Monday and the episode comes out on Friday. So to my future self, I hope it's not the worst.
Oh my goodness. I've just been living for the updates on Trump's senility, if that's a word.
Look, I read a medium take, if you will, on the internet that for those of you who are blissful enough to have missed this, Trump endorsed J.D. Vance at a rally in Nebraska. He said he endorsed J.P. Mansell, which is like kind of a weird combination of Josh Mandel and J.D. Vance. There is someone who is theorizing that this is Trump's big revenge against J.D. for saying all that mean shit back in 2016, that he's just so petty that he fucked up the name on purpose and used the last name Mandel just to fuck with him.
Oh, see, that's interesting. I feel like this is the one time when I am willing to concede to the conspiracy theorist idea, just no, he's just so smart. He's playing 9-dimensional chess. Where it's just because this offer, then if he decides no, I never backed JD Vance, I backed what's his face Mandel. And it's let's go to the clip. Sure. I mean,
it's half
cover all
ways.
Your bases. Why not?
Yeah.
Or, you could have a spotted dementia.
Yeah. I mean, it's perfectly reasonable all the way around and I hate it, but this is where we are. So to my future self, I hope you're treating yourself nicely. I hope, I hope things are okay. And the other thing I'll say is, we're going into this next episode and Una, we're getting back to some nice, hilariously grifty medical information.
Oh, I love it.
So a while back when we talked about Victoria Woodhull, who was the first woman to run for president, we talked a lot about her con man dad named Buck Claflin, who had his one main medical con that he ran was as a cancer doctor, and he had no training and horribly wounded and maimed a number of women in the process.
Yeah, it's all fun and games until the reality shakes out.
Yeah, and for those of you who haven't listened, that's just scratching the surface with the Claflin family. It's a poor hot mess for Vicky C. But yeah, so we're hopping back into that. The thing I like about this one is we're going to talk about a lot of medical quackery, and so far with what I've read, it seems like no one's died yet. So I think we can actually sit back and really laugh at a lot of the bullshit that's going on.
I do love the yet part. So does this mean we're dealing with contemporary figures?
Somewhat. It's mostly that I'm still reading the book and gathering the information. Spoiler alert, this is going to be a couple of parts. Because the guy we're talking about has lived a goddamn life.
Indeed.
But yeah, I haven't gotten to a part where it seems like anyone's life has been severely at risk. So it gives me hope.
Yay!
That we're just going to be running with a harmless con.
Yay!
And to give you an idea of how screwy this guy that we're going to be talking about, the book that I get a large amount of the information from is called The Bizarre Careers of John R. Brinkley by R. Alton Lee.
I love that careers is plural.
He does have many. And so there's another book that's a little more popular than this. I forget what it's called, but it has been optioned into movies and stuff like that. But I really preferred this book because it gave a lot more background on the history of the guy that we're talking about, his motivation as to why he's done the things he's done, and really it gets a lot more in depth beyond just the medical procedures that he decided to do.
Ooh.
So we're going to be talking about John R. Brinkley, but first we have to talk about the man who gave him life, because I think it really gives you an idea of where John is coming from here, to let you know that he didn't start out like most of us did in life. So we're going to be talking about his father, John Richard Brinkley, first. So John Richard lived in the Smoky Mountains of North Carolina and made a living as a quote-unquote doctor. And this is a doctor in the sense that he read some books about it, talked with another doctor, kind of apprenticed for a little bit alongside said doctor, and got to the point that he was considered to be a red doctor, or someone who had at least been there enough to know what was going on and could be a doctor in the woods.
Okay, what years are we talking about?
We are talking about the 1850s.
Oh, sure. Okay. Yeah.
1996, Una, is the height of boy bands were starting to show up. Grunge was dying.
Listen, we're still talking about the Smoky Mountains of North Carolina. I'd
True.
say anything goes.
Yeah. And so I should have said yes. We are in the early 19th century here.
God, back when you could just call yourself anything and people would take it seriously.
Most of our heroes from pre-Civil War are just people who were decent at understanding the law, went out west, read some books, and called themselves a lawyer. It's a different time. And yeah, this was a time that, like, if you studied under a guy who called himself a doctor, technically you could call yourself a doctor and not be run out of town.
Right, because they were basically surgeons back like that. There was also no difference between those modes, right?
Yeah. And I'm gonna be covering this a little later, but I think it's also important to talk about where medicine was at the time.
Yeah.
So this is around about the time that Andrew Jackson had won the presidency after he had lost. I know I've brought it up a bunch, but a quick primer on that. Andrew Jackson and John Quincy Adams were running to be the 6th president of America. It was the very first popular vote the country ever had. Prior to that, it was just the Electoral College. And Jackson ended up winning the popular vote, but no one had a majority of electoral votes going in. So by law, it had to go to Congress. And Congress had, I believe it was called a corrupt bargain, where Henry Clay said, I'm going to make sure that John Quincy Adams wins. And the deal is you're going to make me vice president. And John Quincy was totally fine with that. So they went against the public decision, made John Quincy Adams the president, and it proceeded to piss off the whole country. So when re-election came up, Andrew Jackson won handily. But what came along with that is Andrew Jackson and the movement was very fond of anti-intellectualism and this idea that these, ivory carpet, Harvard towered people are, going out here to tell us who we get to pick. These people think they're so fucking smart, but, we want things the way we want them. And so going along with that was an anti-intellectualism that also went with medicine.
Fun.
This country's always been the same.
Yes.
And so yeah.
We've always chosen magnets over reading a book.
Look, when we figure out how they work, I think then we can understand the medical applications. But until then, angels live inside magnets.
We have always had a 3 a.m. infomercial.
That's what Paul Revere was actually doing before he was telling everyone the British was coming. So that's kind of the atmosphere that's going on now. We'll talk about it a bit later and go more in depth with that, but I feel like it's kind of important to push that forward. So yeah, this is what John Richard is up to. He is a backwoods doctor who has learned enough to not kill people when treating them. And so John also had a true pastime, and it was getting married repeatedly.
Okay, Jim.
The first time he attempted to get married, it ended up having to be annulled because Jim wasn't of age yet, and his father refused to let him get married.
It's like, but I want to have sex.
I honestly love that it's a nice twist on things because it's usually the woman who's underage in these old-timey marriages. And so for John to be underage and really pushing that, good for you. Way to be a trailblazer. Still wrong, but fuck. And so his dad is like, no son of mine's getting married at 15 or whatever age he was. So when he finally was of age, he would end up marrying this woman named Sally Honeycutt. They either got divorced or she died. It's kind of unclear.
All right.
In 1850, he was married to his second wife, Sarah. They either divorced or she died. And then John married his third wife, Mary Buchanan. Mary definitely died. And John moved on to his fourth wife, Fanny Knight. Now, I know what this sounds like to you. It sounds
Henry
like the
VIII?
man's killing wives.
Oh, yeah, that too.
But it all comes into clear with his fourth wife, Fanny Knight, who also died of tuberculosis, which was the main reason his wives died. It was just consistently getting tuberculosis.
He couldn't boil some water? Like, what is actually, I have no idea how one gets tuberculosis.
Why
isn't he getting tuberculosis?
Because he's the doctor. He knows what to do.
He's hitting that laudanum.
I heard it's crossing the Mississippi is going to be tough. We need to buy 18 pounds of laudanum. Yeah. And so that is a great question as to how he's perfectly fucking fine, but his wives are constantly dying of tuberculosis or leaving him.
And no kiddos?
Many with each wife.
Oh, okay. Yeah. You're getting there.
Yeah. It's just, we only have so much time in our lives. I don't need to count all of this man's children.
Got it.
So his fourth wife.
Oh, fuck. They're worn out. That's why they're getting tuberculosis.
It's true. Pregnancy will give you tuberculosis.
Can't help. Anyway, all right.
So fourth wife is dead and in the ground. So before he could marry again, the Civil War ended up kicking off, and he was drafted into the Confederate Army, where he served as a medic. He would be wounded twice, but ended up surviving the war. It took 20 years, but he finally got married to his fifth wife, Sarah Menges. After some time, Sarah's niece, Sarah Candace Burnett, would move in with the family as well. And folks decided to call the elder Sarah Aunt Sally to make things less confusing. And then John made things more confusing by hooking up with the younger Sarah and getting her pregnant.
No!
Uh-huh.
I mean, he sounded like a fuck boy who just had extremely good luck with tuberculosis. Now he's just a fuck boy.
No, he's on his 5.5 wife at this point.
Good,
And
sir.
I know what you're wondering. When I say younger person in the household, she's 24 at the time. So at least we're not going into that dark zone.
Great.
It's still creepy and awful, but
Small miracles.
Yeah, the only underage person in this story who's allowed to get married is John. So he ends up getting the younger Sarah pregnant and would give birth to the topic of today's date, John Romulus Brinkley. But since John's father has a dick of pure tragedy, the younger Sarah would end up dying of a blend of pneumonia and tuberculosis when John Romulus was only 5.
Oh my God.
From there on, John would be raised by his biological dad and Aunt Sally, who I'm sure loved it. They moved from Beta, North Carolina to East LaPorte, and John Richard began preaching along with kind of being a doctor.
Yeah, that makes sense.
John Romulus was noted to be a very intelligent kid, mainly because he had what we call now a photographic memory, but people didn't really know what to call it then.
Because they didn't have photographs.
I don't know. It's like a telegraphic memory. I don't fucking know, man. It's like a memory on the Pony Express.
He's a witch. Burn him.
He comes from the Lords of Sin. He's actually a living embodiment of tuberculosis, just walking around.
It's just a cloud of TB.
So yeah, he has a photographic memory. He's also very fond of hunting, playing his harmonica, and watching his father blend together herbs to make mountain remedies. And yet again, we have another tragedy. When Johnny was 10, his father became very sick and took to bed rest. But shortly after he went to bed, someone knocked on the door and says, "Hey, we need you to go take care of someone who's sick. They are 26 miles away and need you immediately." So
there's no immediate in this situation when it's 26 miles and, you know, the 1860s. Great. Okay.
So John Richard puts on his coat, takes his hoe, makes a row of corn for him to deal with when he gets back and plant, and then hops on his horse and goes off to help this person 26 miles away. They get there. He deals with everything. And instead of going back, they let him stay for the night. So he's sitting by the fire and just dies sitting by the fire.
God.
During the funeral, Johnny had a bit of a break, as you do, deciding then and there that he was going to become a doctor just like his dad so that no one would ever die.
This is a villain origin story.
Yes, it is. And from there, Aunt Sally became his sole caretaker, which I'm sure she loved. And so Aunt Sally would keep raising John, and she took jobs as a midwife to keep them fed. As John grew, he began to attend school, where he met his first bully, a woman by the name of Sally Margaret Wyke. Sally was from one of the wealthier families in the area and was noted for being spoiled, arrogant, and a teacher's pet. And like all villainous rich kids, she took great pleasure in making fun of John and his patchy overalls. Her go-to bullying tactics were to use her leather shoes to stomp on John's bare feet, and getting her older brother Claude to throw rocks at him for being a quote-unquote bastard.
God damn.
Johnny would end up studying his butt off and finished the courses available at the age of 16. Now, it should be noted that this is a high school, but it wasn't one that really gave out diplomas. So if he wanted to go to college, he had to attend a school that gave diplomas or at least some sort of high school equivalency, and then he can move on.
Okay.
So while some of his classmates did go to college, went that path, John decided to take a job as a mail carrier. He still really wanted to be a doctor, but after talking to some folks, he discovered that the way his dad declared himself a doctor was no longer allowed. So you couldn't just hang out with a doctor and just be like, yeah, have fun, man.
Yeah, air quotes, doctor, let's do this.
And so I'm just going to call him John from here on out because John Richard's dead. We have real John. Oh, yeah. So a fun thing, too. So his mother named him John Romulus. One to name him after his dad, but the other is because she knew the story of the founding of Rome and named him after one of the twins who were raised by wolves and created Rome.
Yeah,
he got picked on so much for having that middle name. He legally had it changed to John Richard, like his dad.
Oh my God, this kid can't catch a break.
Yeah. I think we should keep this in mind because there are lessons to be learned about bullying and not solid home life and just, letting a kid leave at the age of 16 and hoping for the best. Like he's, he's alive. We're done.
Yeah.
So he's being a mail carrier and he figures out the only way that he's going to be able to become a doctor is to raise the money to go to college, which is something that John really didn't have the money to do. So he developed a plan. In the nearby town of Silva, there is a station manager working the trains there. and he was known for just being just the laziest motherfucker. So John decided he's just going to befriend this guy for a bit when he's in the middle of delivering mail. He's just there and he's hanging out. Then he's like, oh, are there any things I can do around here just to help out? Like, I don't know, sweeping or maybe sorting your mail or anything like that. And so John does this for about a month, to the point that the guy running the station is just expecting him to do this whenever he comes by now. So he just stops doing his job and just lets John do it. And so while this is going on, John's like, it'd be really nice if you taught me how to use the telegraph, because it's a job that was known for paying really, really well. The best job that John could get is as a local teacher, where the pay was not very good, but you did get free room and board bouncing around the homes of the students who lived there.
Oh, wow. He's so awkward.
Yeah, it's not great. And it's something he could have done. He had the intelligence to do it. He just knew he didn't want to. And yeah, if you're working the telegraph, you can get paid so much more. And so he asked the guy if he could teach him. The guy's like, I'm not really trained to teach anyone how to use this thing. So, pack sand. Thanks for the work. And for a week after that, John keeps visiting, but he's doing none of these extra things that he was helping this guy with. And when the guy brings it up, he's like, I might be convinced to start doing that again if you teach me how to use the telegraph.
Oh, damn. Yeah.
It fucking worked.
Oh, shit.
So he would end up buying his own telegraph to practice with at home. And he also bought 3 pictures of his 3 biggest heroes: Abraham Lincoln, who he loved for ending slavery; Thomas Edison, who he saw as the world's greatest inventor; and William McKinley, who was president and had been assassinated. And no one really knows why he liked McKinley at all.
Maybe McKinley was like, because he got assassinated so quickly, it's like you could just kind of like project on to him your aspirations for like a good president.
Well, Arl ultimately has a theory, and it's that a number of his childhood friends were like, he always talked about these big aspirations, like, if he was president, he would have ended slavery too, or if he could be this great inventor that everyone would love, or quote, he would take a bullet for someone like President McKinley.
Oh shit.
Yeah. It's a weird hero, but I don't know, man. I'm sure they had plenty of McKinley pictures on sale at that point. After all this practice on the telegraph, he got a job as a telegrapher for the railroad, making $45 a month or $18,000 a year in modern day money. And this is the best paying job in the area.
Oh, shit.
So he kept at this for about 4 years until a chance encounter with a modern day con man's best friend, Western Union, which if anyone ever asks you to send money through Western Union, they are taking your money and you will never see it again.
Okay, but counterpoint, I have had to use Western Union while traveling.
Are you running scams?
It was me and my mom. It worked fine. Don't at us, Western Union.
Oh, so when you sent me that email saying that you were stuck in Rome and you really need to get out of the country, but you lost your passport and you just need $1,000, that was really you?
I was really in Rome. And frankly, Dusty, I really could have used your help.
Oh, man. Well, I guess I need to quit being so pessimistic about the world.
I just wish you would check your spam folder.
Oh, my God. Man, I got a guy in Nigeria I need to email. Sorry, we'll pause for a second.
That was also me.
No! God damn it. You could have called.
They took my cell phone.
Not about that part. So a detective for Western Union was looking into a claim that a message hadn't been delivered on time, and they were getting sued over it. Like, this person was like, I didn't get the message of my father's funeral, and how dare you, I wasn't able to make it there on time, so I'm suing Western Union for not delivering this message to me. And this happened all in Bethel, North Carolina. So this guy's like, hey, John, would you mind looking into this for me? And John looks into it, talks to all the people who would have known about this, and very quickly debunks the claims that this message had not been delivered. And as thanks, the detective told him that if you ever want a job at Western Union anywhere in the country, come on by and I will get you a job.
Boom.
So John moved to New York City, went straight to the Western Union headquarters, and left with a job. It's just that easy, Una. I don't know why millennials make it so hard.
I'm going to scream.
Look, you just have to, it's a simple 20-step process. You have to become a mail carrier, bribe a station manager with threats, hope for the best a guy from Western Union is going to show up that's not here to take your money, and then move to New York.
Yeah. Step 1, graduate-ish and find the laziest bastard in your town.
Yes. So he gets a job there. He ended up not keeping the job in New York for very long. And in 1906, he went down to New Jersey and worked as a telegrapher for a pair of railroads. This is kind of a common theme with John, is he doesn't hold jobs for very long. I think he just kind of gets bored really quickly and just bounces around. He would end up returning home when he got a letter telling him that Aunt Sally was on her deathbed. He would move Aunt Sally in with him and take care of her until she passed on Christmas Day of 1906.
Oh.
And at the funeral, John ends up getting a really pleasant surprise. Sally Wyke is there, not to push over the casket or to fill it with snakes, but to actually offer her condolences. She even apologized for being so mean to him in school. And as you do, they started dating.
Yes, I knew there was an enemies to lovers in this. Yes!
When they were dating, he told her all of his dreams to become a doctor, and she took in all of his worldly stories traveling up and down the coast. And in less than a month, they got married. What could go wrong?
She dies of tuberculosis.
Oh, God, that would... You think of that? You think of that? He has tuberculosis. She got married to consumption. This isn't going to go well. And who knows, maybe I'm just being a dick, because Sally clearly supported John's desire to be a doctor. And that's because after they got married, they hopped into the world of traveling medicine shows.
Oh, what?
He was like, I don't know how what went to plan A to plan B of like, I'm going to be a doctor, to we need to leave town every night as quickly as possible for the next few months.
Yeah, I'm so confused. It's like, oh, you want to be a doctor? Well, how about you be a freak in the sheets and a freak in this small town with a bottle of some elixir?
I mean, from what I can tell, at first, she at least seemed to be into it. Because they weren't doing like the old straw hat cane, I'm gonna kill your gout in 24 minutes, that sort of guy. They were doing something I didn't even know was a common thing. They went around pretending to be Quaker doctors. Like, he was a Quaker doctor, Sally was his dutiful assistant, and typically a Quaker medicine show would start with a musical act, usually hire a local person who could play fiddle or harmonica, to warm up the crowd. After this comes the morality play, wherein someone's, it's a story, but someone's dying from some sort of malady. And they're like, oh, if only I had to use Dr. Hanrahan's ginger tincture. Oh, if only, but instead I must die. And upon here come angels. And then following this morality play, John comes out doing a ton of these and thous and fellow brothers and suches, and lets them know that he has the Quaker cure to what ails them, and just starts selling.
I'm sorry. What? Like, so many. First of all, I thought the Quakers were cool, and now
these are people pretending to be Quakers.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, from what I understood is, since the majority of Quakers are Pennsylvania, some in Kentucky, that general area. I'm going to be a little ignorant on this. I don't know how many Quakers made it down to North Carolina in the 1880s, but I assume it was sort of like that performance of what people think Quakers are, and using that, oh, they're pacifists and you can trust them and they're very old timey. We're gonna use this trust that people believe in them, and then use that to sell this medicine that's complete bullshit.
Right, because who would ever assume a Quaker was out to huck you and
exactly. Yeah, it's
steal your coin.
Exactly. Yeah, and so it's like if I was a traveling Canadian around here trying to sell people all kinds of, I don't know, vitamin B supplements,
magical maple syrup.
I would buy that. It sounds like a fun cure-all.
Yeah.
So they didn't keep at this show for very long. They'd eventually find themselves in the greatest city in the world. It's Chicago. Of course they have to come here. So the couple moved to a basement apartment, as you do. John took a job at Western Union, and they had their first kid, Wanda Mary. But John's dreams of medical school had only grown stronger. The thing, though, is Chicago has a reputation at this point, as we always have. But very specifically, at this time, it is known as the capital for quack doctors and frauds.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're good. We're proud of being good at.
We're number one.
So undeterred by this, John told Sally, quote, "I'll never get anywhere with this job," and chose to enter medical school once and for all while working. He'd end up enrolling at the Bennett Medical College, and boy, was that a choice. The Bennett Medical College was founded in 1868 and was originally located in River North on a location that's now the 515 building. 3 years later, the Great Chicago Fire burned the school to the ground, and they rebuilt it in 1875 on the corner of Fulton and Ada in the West Loop. And as is West Loop tradition, the space is now expensive office spaces and apartments. The goal of the school is to focus on eclectic medicine and, quote, "furnish instructions of a practical character so as to send out well-qualified practitioners of medicine rather than scientific doctors."
They're not even trying.
I know. And that's mainly because eclectic medicine is a very interesting evolution of this Jacksonian anti-elitism in medicine. So it's an extension of something called Thomsonian medicine. And so it's essentially homeopathy with a bunch of Native American medicine as understood by white dudes.
Oh no.
It's based on the idea that modern medicine is more dangerous than herbal remedies. And during Samuel Thompson's day, the guy who created this, he wasn't entirely wrong, mainly because doctors had really gotten into mercury-based medicines.
Maybe there is that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so he was at least starting from a bit of truth.
Right. Cocaine cures everything.
Oh, we'll get to that. We're going to get to cocaine.
No.
And so the issue now, though, is that when you pair this anti-elitist doctors are poisoning you attitude with the anti-elitist Andrew Jackson crowd in America, it creates this belief amongst many people that you cannot trust doctors and herbal remedies are the only way to go.
God, this is uncomfortably close to home right now.
Yeah. So an example of Thomsonian medicine would be the typical way to treat any disease was to restore the body's natural heat via a mix of steam baths, cayenne pepper, laxatives, and Lobelia inflata, which is also commonly known as pukeweed.
And why is that, Dusty?
I didn't look it up. I just assumed they were being literal. So the addition of Native American medicine was brought about by a dude named Constantine Rafinesque, who is one of the most interesting people who's probably ever lived. He's a Frenchman who moved to Ohio and had a weird natural grasp on botany, zoology, and nearly any topic he decided to look into. He mainly studied by roaming the wilderness and looking at shit. He was ostracized by the scientific community for honestly just being a complete weirdo. He was not good at parties. He was not good at talking to people. He did not like it when people said he was wrong. And while not all of his theories were right, he was the first person to theorize of the Bering Strait land bridge being the way native peoples came to this continent in the first place. And he introduced the idea of evolution 30 years before Charles Darwin did.
Oh, okay. Love this.
He would also publish a book of 6,700 plants in which he gave priority more to their common names over scientific names, which caused many a monocle to drop. He spoke of the medical treatments that each could offer, which would also end up leading to his death, because he self-medicated a mixture that was predominantly containing maidenhair fern, which is believed to have given him stomach and liver cancer.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So it's all of these ideas that are coming together to create eclectic medicine. All of the theories created by Rafinesque added with this homeopathy belief of Thomason. So here at Bennett, the school was co-ed. Graduation requirements that you at least had to be 21, have, quote, good moral character, and complete 2 courses of lectures, which would last for about a year. But if you had 4 years of, quote, honorable practice, that could take the place of at least 1 course. You also had to pass the exams for each course, too. So don't think this is just going to be, you're there for a year and you get your diploma. This is a serious institution of learning.
For all that we joke that like he just walked up and got a job at Western Union and everything, I do love that we are seeing a little bit of the, like, from his dad's generation to his generation, the need for a degree, the need for standardized education, even if the education is like, eat a plant and sweat it out.
You get your diploma at Bennett? I don't remember. So Bennett's use of eclectic medicine is best proven by requiring students to purchase a book called The Eclectic Materia Medica, a homeopathic textbook containing the medical benefits and uses of 397 plants. And the latest edition of it, printed in 1924, is online today. And some examples from the book include the Ohio buckeye, which can be used to treat asthma attacks. It also notes that it is highly poisonous and similar to strychnine. Coffee can increase reflexes in the spinal cord. Also, coffee enemas should be used for opium overdoses. So good to keep in mind. If you don't have any Noxalone, just, shove some coffee up someone's butt, find a Starbucks.
What if you just want to try it for fun? What then what does it do?
It increases reflexes to the spinal cord.
All right.
Yeah, it mostly talks about it's honestly very true descriptions of what coffee does when you drink it. You become more alert, you think faster, but also if you drink too much of it, you start panicking for no reason.
I don't know what you're talking about, Dusty.
That constant dread we all feel. Vanilla is not good for medicine. They could not find a single medical use for it. But if you use it for aromatherapy, everyone's going to want to fuck.
Dope.
And of course, we got to talk about the benefits of cocaine. And I'll give the book this. By the time this last edition was printed, they were very serious about what cocaine can do, because they literally said, only use cocaine if you have no medicine anywhere. It is, if you are in a room and it's just cocaine and an empty desk, I mean, maybe try to boil down the empty desk first. But they did have a couple things that you could use it for if you really had to. One was for stomach cancer to ease the pain, which, yeah, fucking do cocaine about it. That makes sense.
Yeah.
The other, though, I have a little question about. It's apparently if you put cocaine into a liquid mixture, it can cure insomnia caused by anxiety.
Because suddenly there's no anxiety because you can't make one wrong choice. Everything is amazing.
If you're writing 20 script plays in like 15 minutes, you're not going to be worrying about your anxiety. Also, this idea of cocaine tea or like Nesquik, but with cocaine sounds very interesting to me.
I'm not curious.
Yeah, right? It's got to be terrible. It's got to, you can't just have it be water. That would taste awful. Anyway, this is one of the books that you had to buy if you're going to Bennett. There was another one for strictly just for women's health that I expected to be far more outrageous. I mean, it's still bad. There's still a whole section of like diseases caused by the vagina, and includes things like hysteria and forgets how to wash a dish and things like that. But it was a lot more medical.
Independent thought.
So John would schedule a meeting with the dean of the school, who also happened to be a former telegraph operator, and the two just bonded very quickly. John was granted acceptance into the school so long as he paid the $25 entry fee. There's also the annual tuition of $125. You could hold off on paying that until graduation. But to get your diploma, you had to pay everything at the end. And in today's money, for a year of school, that would be $4,500. John then went to a loan shark, got the $25, and started school.
No.
I will say this. There's no indication that a loan shark broke his legs at any point, so I feel like he paid that $25 back. So starting the next semester, John's schedule was class from 8 to 5, then go to Western Union, work from 5:30 to 1 in the morning, go home to your wife and child, and squeeze in as much sleep as you can. It should be also noted that John's monthly salary was $75, which is, $27,500 a year for us, on which he needs to feed his family, meaning he had no way to save for tuition after all of it. But he doesn't have to pay it until he graduates anyway, so he just kind of keeps going.
Yeah.
So he would find the cheapest places to eat, regularly skip breakfast. There was a bar that he would go to that if you paid for a beer, they had like a free lunch sitting aside. So he'd drink a beer and eat as much as he could. There was like a 10-cent diner called Pittsburgh Joe's that he would go to.
This sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's like he is just going to the same place every day. Just it's cheap as fuck and it's getting him through. And amidst all this, they would end up having their first son, John Allman, who passed away 3 days after he was born. But there was one small light at the end of the tunnel for John. At school, he had a professor that was very into the study of glandular extracts. The science at the time was still very new, and John became convinced that if he got on the ground floor of this study, he could write it all the way to his own fame. John would decide on his third year of study to follow his passion. In order to afford it, he took on double shifts at Western Union that summer. And so without school, he's now working 5 p.m. to 8 a.m. After the first week of this, he proudly came home with his double paycheck to Sally, beyond words excited with how much money they finally had. Next day, he goes to work. When he comes home, Sally has left with Wanda. And all she has left him is $1.10, which she labeled for car fare.
Cold as ice, but also like, man, at a certain point, you're a single mother anyway.
She also said in the note that he was worried about paying for meals. He should ask the restaurants if he can get them on credit and then pay for them on his next paycheck.
Wow, she is angry and I am here for it.
Yeah. I think at some point he forgot that he was married to a school bully and what Sally's capable of.
It's like, bitch, I came from money and I will go back to it.
Oh, 100%. That is a very important thing to keep in mind is you are living in a basement unit, probably in not one of the better locations in the city in the fucking 1900s, early 1900s, with a child that your husband is not helping you raise at any point in time.
At all.
Like,
no.
He is lucky he is alive right now. But the real message was that she has left him permanently and is going to file for divorce. And understandably, Sally has been unhappy for a while, but some of her anger was based on not being able to adjust to poverty. She hated their meager basement apartment, despised John for not making enough to buy her new clothes, and berated him for not being smart enough to ever become a doctor.
God
Which I feel like that's the argument ender every time. Is just shove that knife in, go to bed. Yeah. During this time, she also made a friend who was known at the time for being a holy roller. So I didn't know this was a specific type of religious person. Apparently, it is a Protestant who had become so overwhelmed with the Spirit of God that you would go into outbursts and literally roll on the ground.
Oh, okay. I heard the phrase holy roller. Like I don't know, if you hear it places,
Yeah.
and I didn't know the actual background to it.
Yeah, it's not quite speaking in tongues, but it's all the movements that go with it.
Yeah.
And so this friendship seemed to last for a while and was not great. So when Sally brought this friend home to visit her parents, the first time this friend burned down the family barn. And
no, holy roller, no.
And the second time, she burned down their home.
Oh my God.
The third time,
stop letting her in.
Sally's mom showed up with a shotgun and refused to let her near their house.
Sally's mom is onto something.
They appear to have remained friends for the rest of their lives.
I love it. Just I love the chaotic energy between this girl boss girlhood.
Oh my God. You know, she was like, I can burn John down. I'll do it. He is a small building.
Do it. You should do it.
Yeah. Getting drunk on Applejack, talking about all the ways that could burn John to death. So weeks after Sally left, John would get an order from a judge to pay $15 a week in alimony until the divorce was finalized. And, this worked out for a few months. He's not going to school. He's working those double shifts. He could kind of afford it. But, he knew that when he started getting back to school, this wasn't going to work. So John put together a plan. On one of the few days that the judge allowed him to see Wanda, so he timed it out that he would be able to pick up his daughter from his ex-sister-in-law's house, knowing that Sally would be at work and knowing that he could just scoop her up without having to talk to his wife. So he showed up, picked up Sally, rushed to a train bound for Montreal, and left the country.
What?
And John succeeded in kidnapping Wanda because Canada didn't extradite fathers who did that sort of thing.
Oh my God.
Sally had to negotiate a return with him. And Sally would agree to cancel the alimony payments, and the family reunited in Chicago. And somehow they were like, we should give this another go.
No. God, I am living for how much of a hot mess this relationship is.
It's really hot, babe? When you kidnapped our daughter. Oh, tell me where you went. You went to Montreal, the fanciest city in Canada?
Two shitty people being shitty to each other, but then also deciding it's like, you know what? Let's fuck.
With like an arsonist just hanging out in the background.
Yes. Yeah, just watching.
So they would stay together during John's third year of school. But once again, she left him and returned to North Carolina, where she gave birth to their second daughter, Erna Maxine. Once again, John wasn't going to give up. So he got what he called an undergraduate physician's license from the state board in North Carolina, moved home, and set up a small clinic. Apparently, and this is my best understanding, if you've at least had medical training but haven't graduated yet, you can get one of these undergraduate physician licenses and kind of operate medicine.
I mean, again, he graduated-ish.
Yeah, it's not like you're going to get hired at a hospital or anything, or like be able to call yourself a doctor, but you could still run a clinic.
Still knew John Hopkins is not like banging down your door.
There was a story that I was going to include because it made it sound like he was getting interest from John Hopkins, but it came from his own biography, which is beyond bullshit. And so I didn't want to include that. But yeah, he had a whole section where he was like, Johns Hopkins was going to take me into their school if I could just prove I had a high school education.
They weren't good enough. So instead, I learned about plants.
Yeah, I learned about glands and plants and all sorts of medicine. So he's dropped out of school now. He's gone back to North Carolina running a clinic, and the family's back together again. They're giving this another chance.
Mazel tov.
The thing, though, is that since John left Chicago, he left without paying Bennett any of the remaining tuition and wasn't making nearly enough to send them any payments, so they were never going to send him a diploma at this rate. For the next year, the family would move to Jacksonville, Florida, Whiteville, North Carolina, Vineland, North Carolina, and Dandridge, Tennessee, intermittently working as a doctor and telegrapher wherever he could both get an undergraduate license, or if he couldn't, he worked as a telegrapher. But in 1912, it would be John's turn to leave Sally this time. Recognizing he really needed a diploma if he was going to make any serious money as a doctor, he went to St. Louis in search of a school that would have him and accept his credentials. Because a lot of schools were like, oh, you went to Bennett? No, I'm not taking that.
I wonder why.
And when he was in St. Louis, he did find 3 schools that were willing to take him and his credits. But like I said, since John still owed tuition to Bennett, the school repeatedly said, we're not sending shit. Fuck off, or whatever the version of that was in 1912. Facing defeat, John did the next best thing. He enrolled at a school willing to take him without the credits. France. The National University of Arts and Sciences would welcome John, where he studied from 1912 to 1913, and awarded him a degree, which is less impressive when you add the detail that so long as you paid them between $200 and $500, they'd give you a degree in anything you wanted.
Amazing.
That's right. John went to what is now called a diploma mill, a fake college that hands out degrees to anyone with the money to buy them with no classes needed. Or in the case of this school, yeah, you could go for a little bit, right? We're not going to force you, but you at least have to go to a class. And they are kind of somewhat legal today. The Department of Education states that they don't really have the legal authority to shut down those schools and can only refuse to give them accreditation, which means that you can't get a government job. There are certain businesses that refuse to give jobs if you have these degrees, but not everyone always looks. Every once in a while, there's someone who's like, oh, we just found out your degree was fake and now we have to fire you and you've been mayor for 20 years.
Oh, no.
ITT Tech is listed as one of these schools. I don't know how true that is. I think they're lumping in for-profit schools with diploma mills a little bit.
Yeah.
But you know what? Fuck that noise. A diploma's a diploma, and John is ready to be a doctor. He goes home to North Carolina, reconciles with Sally to the point that they have a third daughter, Naomi Beryl. Degree in hand, he moves the family to New York City to kickstart things, but he doesn't make it. And as the song says, if you can't make it there, you're fucked. So he goes back to Chicago, and once again, no one is interested in his services. And this becomes Sally's last straw. The family has moved nonstop. The medical stuff is not working out, and she is just done. She gives John an ultimatum. Either give up on your dream of being a doctor and go work at Western Union, or I am leaving with the kids. And John refused. Sally moved back to North Carolina for the last time. And with his newfound freedom, it seems that John proceeded to just hitchhike wherever he could to duck bill collectors.
Oh my God. Wait, can we how old is John at this point?
Great question. He is 27.
Oh my God. Okay. He's getting a little long in the tooth for this like shitty bachelorhood.
Yeah, it's getting real close. So he starts kind of hitchhiking around, dodging bill collectors. He ends up in Knoxville, Tennessee for a bit, working for a guy named Dr. Burke. Much like John, Dr. Burke didn't really have a medical license, but he did have a chain of shops focusing on curing STIs, specifically syphilis and gonorrhea. The basic flim-flam of what happened is someone, a worried man shows up looking for cures. And then John takes the clients through what is essentially a museum of phalluses, each more grotesque than the last, showing the effects of untreated STIs. And then you get to the back room where in a glass case is a wax dummy of a broken and imbecilic man ruined by syphilis. And at that moment, the client ends up getting scared enough. They immediately say, hey, I want an appointment with the doctors who's here. And John takes them back to Dr. Burke's office to get some bullshit tonic to save their dick.
Oh no.
And John does this for a few months. He doesn't make a career out of it, but he learns some lessons. And so he makes his travels round trip around the country and ends up back in Chicago. And this is where fate would step in and give John his first real chance at whatever he thought medicine was. One night, he went to the Brevoort Hotel, one of the fancier, schmanciest places to stay at the time. Potentially looking for a rich mark or potential patients, John sat at the bar taking things in. And also sitting at the bar was a guy named James Crawford, a 23-year-old from Oxford, Mississippi. James has made his way up to Chicago as a salesman, and after a few drinks, the pair realized that their talents might be pretty complementary. And where better to pull off their legitimate business venture than a place neither of them had ever lived before, Greenville, South Carolina. I don't know how they picked it. I don't know if they just threw a fucking dart, but they're going to Greenville. The pair would rent a 2-room office above a shoe repair shop and open the Greenville Electromedic Doctors. Their local ad simply said, quote, "Are you a manly man full of vigor?" That's right. These two strangers are here to make your dicks work, you fucking cucks. Now get in line.
No.
This is, I think it was in Knoxville that John realized the power of toxic masculinity and using it against dudes who are scared.
So he's selling boner pills.
Oh, 100. Well, I mean, it was pills.
Yeah.
So how are they going to save all these sad men? It is through the magic of, and I am quoting this, an electric medicine from Germany called Salvarsan. Now, it does need to be said that Salvarsan is 100% real. It was invented in 1907 in Germany by Alfred Bertheim. There wasn't much knowledge on what it could do until 1909, when Sahachiro Hata discovered that this synthetic chemical could kick syphilis's ass. Considering that the primary treatment was a mercury-based medicine, this discovery was huge.
Hey.
Now, the problem, though, is that Salvarsan wasn't exactly the safest thing to use. To be able to inject it, you had to mix it with sterile water, and if it took in too much air exposure, it went bad. And when you injected it with too much air exposure, you end up getting rashes, liver damage, or just outright die. And so the company that made this were very, very serious about making sure that the doctors knew how to use it and that the only people using it knew when to throw it out and knew when things got dangerous. So the lab would end up making a safer version of it in 1912. And after penicillin was discovered in 1928, salvarsan pretty much disappeared. As for John and James, the two would dole out this highly dangerous medicine at $25 a shot, or $726 today.
Oh my God.
And not a single patient was ever hurt or killed. And this is because they were using colored water. The injections were colored water, not salvarsan.
So, my God.
It's pretty fucked. So after 2 months of running this scam of injecting people with colored water, they started to realize that they might have to dip out of town pretty quick. So in the middle of the night, they end up leaving and they have bills to at least 30 local retailers. They left behind all their equipment, left behind literally fucking everything, and just dipped in the middle of the night. They make a quick stop in James's hometown of Oxford, Mississippi, and then settled for a little bit in Memphis, Tennessee. And on their first night there, James called up a few girls he knew, which included Minerva Talitha Jones, or Minnie as she preferred. And John and Minnie hit it off immediately. Within 4 days, they got married at the Peabody Hotel.
What could go wrong?
What could go wrong? And may I remind you, John and Sally still are not formally divorced.
No. Oh, no. So he's committed bigamy.
Yes, you are. You are quite the bigamist. So the newlyweds then go on a 6-week honeymoon, to get to know each other. And so they start going around the country. They spend 2 weeks in Kansas City, 1 week in Denver, 3 weeks in Pocatello, Idaho. And then when they get back to Knoxville, John is immediately arrested and sent to jail to Greenville for practicing without a medical license and writing bad checks.
And also for sending all those poorly written Western Union transcripts announcing if you want to get hard fast, come to Greenville, South Carolina.
Oh my God. The internet's always existed.
It's always existed.
And so he ends up getting in jail and the cops, start leaning on him. I mean, I wouldn't even say leaning on him. They ask him a question. He's like, oh, this is all James Crawford. You can find him Pocatello, Idaho. This is where he's staying. Get him. It's all him.
Folded like a cheap table.
Instantly. And the cops go to Pocatello. They find James, arrest him, take him back to Greenville, and put him in the exact same cell with John.
Good job, John.
Sometimes cops can be funny. John would eventually get bailed out by his new father-in-law because I forgot to mention, Minnie's dad is a rich physician.
So he has a type.
Yeah. So he gets bailed out by his new father-in-law and immediately skips town, sticking James with over $400 in unpaid bills, which James does pay. Now, the two would run into each other in Atlanta, where John paid James back the money that he owed. And the two would run into each other just a few times in the future. It was really kind of weird how often their paths intertwined at the weirdest moments. But we're going to leave James here because his main story is that he would end up in jail for stealing a car, ended up in jail another time for trying to rob a hotel in Tulsa.
All right, James.
That's James's story.
Yeah.
So after Atlanta, John met back up with Minnie in Memphis. But who the fuck is also there? Oh, Sally Wyke is here. And she is not happy. Because John has gone all this time not paying alimony for his 3 daughters. And despite informing Minnie that John was, in the eyes of the law, a bigamist, so John and Minnie left town, leaving Sally behind with nothing.
Good God.
In 1914, the pair would end up in Judsonia, Arkansas. John got a 1-year license as an undergraduate physician and opened a practice focusing on, quote, the diseases of women and children. Again, he wasn't able to make this clinic profitable, so he took a side job joining the Army Reserve Medical Corps. And as luck would have it, John was actually able to inherit a medical practice in the nearby town of Earl. And this seems to be a pretty common thing that when a doctor decided to retire or to move somewhere else, he would talk to another doctor about taking over the practice and just inheriting all the clients. And I don't know how this guy in Earl heard of John and trusted him, but he was like, yeah, you can run my practice. Have fun. So while John was there, he got a pamphlet from the former doctor's alma mater, the Eclectic Medical University of Kansas City. John contacted them about enrolling in their 4th-year program, and they said, yeah, you're in as long as you convince the folks at Bennett to forward your transcripts. So John did the unthinkable. He paid them their tuition debt. John had actually saved up money for the final year, and when they had the money, they packed up and moved to Kansas City, abandoning this practice that he had inherited.
Oh my God. This man has no follow-through at all, ever, in any way. It's just chaos.
He doesn't. So on May 7th, 1915, John finally got a somewhat more legitimate degree. So the real kick in the face, though, is that if he had been able to stay at Bennett for his fourth year, John actually would have gotten an accredited education and a legitimate degree. In 1910, the Flexner Report was written to detail the failing of eclectic medical schools. In particular, Bennett was found to have school facilities, quote, in a wretched condition, had nominal entrance exams, and an utterly inadequate clinical experience. And it was ordered that if the school were to continue, they had to pair with a legitimate university. So in 1910, they affiliated with Loyola University.
Oh, Bird, Loyola.
The quality of education markedly improved. By 1915, Bennett had become completely absorbed into Loyola and no longer exists.
Oh my goodness.
If he stayed one more fucking year, he'd be a Loyola graduate.
A real school that still exists.
He might have dropped out, though, because I think they would be like, all right, we're going to teach you fuckers real medicine now.
Yeah.
We're going to take you down to Rush. You're going to see how it's actually fucking done.
Like, these aren't flowers and feelings.
No, put down the fucking dandelions, Horace. We're going to teach you medicine. Cut open that guy and don't fuck him up.
Where's the chapter on boater pills? How am I going to make money?
More of a DePaul thing. You might want to
Hey-o.
Boom. Local jokes. Love them. And so that better education may have been helpful. Also because the Eclectic Medical University of Kansas City was only recognized as an accredited university in 8 states. Now, technically, one would be Missouri, but the state medical board was comprised of people who only respected modern medicine and required a $500 bribe per student to even let them take the licensing test if they were from the School of Eclectic Medicine.
I mean, make your money, get the bag.
So the dean of EMU bussed John's entire graduating class to Arkansas and had them take the test there, which John passed. But he didn't want to stay there, so he went back to Tennessee and passed the exam there. Minnie's dad, who was also a physician, like I said, offered him a job, but John turned it down, noting that it wasn't a specialty that he wanted to focus on. He just, you don't want to live with your father-in-law. You don't want your father-in-law to be your boss.
Yeah, I might just like drop your daughter at a moment's notice.
Look, as a man who's abandoned his wife once and has been abandoned 3 times, I think I know what's best for me, father-in-law. So something that John found out about at the time, because right now he can only practice medicine in Arkansas and Tennessee, but there's something called reciprocity that he could use to claim medical license in other states just by proving he was licensed in Arkansas. Yes. So he pawned a portable x-ray machine and paid $25 to get a license in Kansas, which he was granted. And after that, he and Minnie moved back to Kansas City. Not the Missouri part, but the Kansas part.
Okay.
So John took up a job as an on-site doctor at a meat packing plant for Swift Packing. He made $15 a week, but he and Minnie spent $10 of that on their room and board, renting from another doctor who worked there. Now, John's primary job was mainly fixing wounds that employees might have gotten while working, nothing really major. But he took a bit of a side hustle while he was there, studying the glands of animals. He had been told by the workers that they used the glands to decide whether or not meat was safe for consumption. The belief was that if the gland was safe, then there wouldn't be any disease that could be transmitted to people. John asked them which was the healthiest animal, and without hesitation, they said goats. Goats are the healthiest. And they would emphasize that it was impossible for a goat-borne disease to transfer to a person. Cornell University disagrees with this.
Okay.
Their College of Veterinary Medicine lists 9 zoonotic diseases that can spread to people. Now, a number of these diseases can result in nausea, diarrhea, fever. It's typically, for the most part, like there's rabies, but rabies is rabies. The nausea, diarrhea, and fever is mostly with if you're eating raw goat meat. There's also one called quackery fever, which fits in this weird subcategory of zoonotic goat diseases where if you are helping a goat give birth and you're not properly gloved up, the amniotic fluid could potentially give you a disease. And there's sort of an aerosol of amniotic fluid that if you are a pregnant woman and inhale this amniotic fluid, it works as an aborticide.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah. It's the most dangerous outside of rabies that you can get. But it's essentially like, it's, there isn't goat flu. So I guess, I see what they're saying. But
right. None of these workers are pregnant women birthing other goats.
Exactly. But all this goat talk was giving John some ideas. Oh, no. And Minnie did note a huge detail. If John was to be a respected doctor, he had to sort out this whole bigamy thing.
Yeah, you're not wrong, Minnie.
Yeah. So John hired an attorney, filed for divorce in Kansas City, and figured out a way to make Sally never know it was happening. So when he filed for divorce, he noted that they got married in New York City, which wasn't true. But he used this as a basis to say, oh, she probably still lives there. I just don't know her address right now. So to prove that he did his due diligence, he posted ads in the newspaper asking for Sally's last known address. And when no one came back, he was like, well, I did my due diligence. I don't know what else to do. And the judge says, you're right, person. I'm going to give you a pro forma divorce. No questions asked. And so John divorced Sally without her even fucking knowing.
My jaw is on the floor. What?
Yep.
But
the bullshit you could pull.
Was that because, like, would he have had to continue paying alimony
Probably.
after the divorce? Okay.
Yeah, more than likely.
Okay.
Yeah, he probably owed a lot of child support.
So much.
Sally would not have gone through that divorce without a fight.
Yeah.
Her friend would throw firebombs at him, probably.
Mm-hmm.
And then 5 days after that, John and Minnie went to Liberty, Missouri and got married, but for keeps this time.
Oh, Lord.
Which, is actually funny because the law said John had to wait 6 months after the divorce to get married, but no one really cares. So
just scratching
get married,
the
you crazy kids. Throughout 1916, John kept getting distracted by new towns to move to and to try to start a practice. He'd finally settle on the town of Fulton, where he did the unthinkable and started to make money. The elderly of the town absolutely loved him, mainly because he leaned into their hypochondria and would flood them with prescriptions to, quote, flush out their system of whatever word they used for toxins back then.
I love it.
John would get a loan for one of the fanciest cars at the time, and the couple began joining all the social organizations the town had to offer. Actually, the car store, I want to go back to that. So John went to go get a loan for a car. He ended up getting like a Ford Tin Lizzie, and the guy who ran the bank is like, no, that's not an appropriate car for a doctor. He had him send it back and then get a fancier car, a Saxon 6.
Oh my God. So it's like some guy is just like, yeah, I just need a Toyota. No. Cadillac.
Mm-hmm.
Driving a Cadillac.
Yeah. You were going to turn down that piece of shit. You are a doctor, sir.
Was this a Ford Cruise? Get the fuck out of here.
John went back to his alma mater in Kansas City to gain a second medical degree, and Minnie joined him to get a degree of her own. The school had seen better days, though. Since World War I had drafted most of their faculty and forced them to hire on less than great professors to pick up the slack, the school would change their name to the Kansas City College of Medicine and Surgery, followed by a national scandal where they were caught selling medical degrees.
Yeah, there it is.
But John didn't have time for that, mainly because he was about to discover the world of politics. It started as most political careers do. One day, he found his pet canary dead in the jaws of the mayor's cat. So John shot the cat.
What?
Infuriated, the mayor began writing multiple columns in his own newspaper disparaging John's name. And John retaliated by running for mayor of Fulton. And he ended up winning by so much, the mayor sold the newspaper and left town.
My God, catless.
The real fuck of this, though, is that John never actually got to serve as mayor because World War I happened. And since he's in the Army Reserves, he ends up getting drafted.
Boom.
So Uncle Sam tells him, like, hey, we're sending you to Fort Sam Houston in San Antonio. And John would claim in his biography that he was solely responsible for treating 2,200 soldiers. But the military records tell a different story.
There we go.
According to the Army, 2 days after arriving, John fell into a deep nervous breakdown that would last for a month and 5 days. The Army got tired of waiting, discharged him, and he went back to Kansas.
Oh my God. Yeah, that sounds way more correct.
And when John and Millie got back, they found another doctor had taken over the practice.
Just swooped in.
Yep.
What?
Yep. Yeah, you're not mayor, you're not doctor. Fuck off. Take your nice car and leave town, you cat murdering fuck. But lucky for John, he saw an ad in the newspaper looking for a doctor in the town of Milford. Now, the newspaper said the population of Milford was 2,000, but the typesetter accidentally added an extra 0. When the couple arrived to town to find no paved roads, no electricity, and no modern amenities, Minnie broke down in tears. But John promised her that he could make this town work. He had ended up buying the general store underneath his practice and placed Minnie in charge. And 2 weeks later, he was able to make good on his promise to his wife. Shortly after opening his practice, a farmer came in. He asked to speak privately to John, and the two went to his makeshift office in the back room. And for a while, they just kind of made small talk, and John was starting to wonder why the farmer was even there. Is like, are you just wanting to get to know me better? Or is it like, what is this? And eventually the farmer finally just said it. He and his wife had a son who's 16. They were really hoping to have another kid at this point. The thing, though, is the farmer was dealing with impotence. He had gone to multiple doctors to try to find a cure, and all of them said that anyone who promises you a remedy for this is lying. It's completely impossible. And for a bit, John agreed. He's like, I could lie to you and give you a cure, but it's not going to work. and the farmer's begging him for any solution he could possibly have. In a moment of awkward jovialness, John thought back to his days at the meatpacking plant and said, quote, "You wouldn't have any trouble if you had a pair of those goat glands in you." And by glands, John meant testicles. To which the farmer said, "Well, why don't you put them in?"
Oh no.
John claimed to be shocked and retorted that he cannot do that because it might kill the farmer. To which the farmer said, and I'm paraphrasing, "So fucking what?" The farmer even offered to supply his own goat for the operation. John thought it over, wrestled with his morality and what could possibly happen with this. He finally said, "Okay, I'll do it for $150."
God damn it.
Which is $3,369 today.
That's not enough for a goat ball transfer.
Now, I will give you a heads up. He is not putting the whole ball in. What he is doing is he is taking a piece of the goat testes, putting it on top of the farmer's testes under the skin, and that's the process.
Okay, so we're not like removing and implanting.
Correct. Yeah, this isn't Frankenstein the triple X version. This is just like do a little slice, I'll put it in there. You
just
cured.
Wave it a little bit. Okay.
Yeah. And shockingly, the farmer did not die. In fact, he was so happy with how it turned out that he began to spread word around the town that Doc Brinkley had discovered the cure for impotence.
No, he didn't. No.
The farmer told an anonymous guy. That anonymous guy got the surgery and loved it. He went and told a guy named William Stitsworth. Now, William was so happy with the results that he brought up the idea of maybe having the surgery for his wife. Only instead of using a goat testicle, they'd use an ovary.
No, thank you.
She had the surgery.
No.
1 year later, the Stitsworth had a healthy baby boy.
Shut the front door.
To the region, this is now absolute proof that Doc Brinkley has found the cure for not just male and female impotence, but also infertility as well. And this baby, who would become known as Goat Gland Billy, was living proof.
Stop it. No, Dusty, no.
Now, on a side note, because a lot of that comes from his biography, the patients would later claim that John paid them to try out the surgery. Billy Stitsworth would state that John paid him and his dad to tour around as living advertisements to the surgery. But Una, who do you want to believe? A fun goofball con man story or the probable truth?
What do you want to believe? The truth or your lying eyes?
We can do an eye transplant to fix that.
No, I don't want goat eyes. They're weird.
So John found out that the elder Stitsworth also had a cousin in a local asylum and decided, you know what? I think his mental illness is due to onanism, which is a real fancy word for just jerking it too much. So he did the same surgery on
jerking it.
Yeah. It's just you have masturbated and now you have schizophrenia. Congratulations. Yes. So he's like, you know what? I'm going to do this surgery on your cousin, a surgery designed to make men more potent. And it worked. This guy would end up becoming an executive at a bank and leave the asylum. So now the goat gland cures impotency, infertility, and severe mental illness. And look, we're going to have plenty of time later to dunk on John, but I do need to take some time to note that he did have periods of being an incredible general practitioner. Multiple people would note that during the flu of 1918, aka our last COVID, that John was incredibly successful at treating people who were sick. To make things more intense, the very first case of this strain of flu was found 12 and a half miles away from Milford in Fort Riley, Kansas. Not Spain, as we thought.
Right.
It started in
the epicenter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
People of the area stated that John seemed to have this natural talent for treating the flu, and supposedly he only lost one patient to a flu that killed 25 to 50 million people worldwide.
Wow.
People noted that he would travel as far as he had to, go through the worst kinds of weather, sit along people's bedside for as long as they needed. And while being a local hero is all good and well, John knew that if he was going to make the biggest difference, he needed to get people outside of Milford to be aware of this goat surgery that he was so fond of. John would hire an ad agent out of Kansas City, and together they put sort of a portfolio for newspapers, had pamphlets, endorsements, information on how the surgery was done, and then send them out to as many newspapers as they could. In the end, only 2 newspapers printed stories about goat glands. But one of them ended up in the hands of J.J. Tobias, the chancellor of the University of Chicago Law School. J.J. was intrigued, went to Milford, got the surgery, and was so impressed by the results that he gave John an honorary doctorate.
This whole time, he's been trying to get a degree, and now they're just throwing them at him.
Yep, from very good schools. Also, what is a teacher of law? have to do with getting a medical degree to someone? I know it's honorary and I know that shit's bullshit, but the conversation to make that happen had to be the worst.
Like, listen, my balls are stronger than ever. So can we throw this guy an honorary degree? Not a JD. No. One of yours.
JJ, I promise I'll fucking do it. I'm tired of having this conversation. I will do it if you stop talking about your balls for at least a week.
Stop showing me the scar.
Please quit neighing whenever you walk past me. Goats bleat. I know you've never seen a goat, you cosmopolitan fuck. So, more importantly, the chancellor gave interviews with the press vouching for Dr. Brinkley. And just like that, John was suddenly awash with patients from the Midwest. John and Minnie would put their funds together and buy attractive land where they built a 16-room clinic that they would dub the Brinkley Jones Hospital and Training School for Nurses. The hospital had a second floor where the nurses could live, and of course, a pen for raising goats.
Yeah.
Kind of a fun side story is John discovered that you have to use a certain type of goat. Otherwise, you're going to smell horrible because the gland is too musky and it like apparently seeps through your skin.
No.
Yeah, so he had to use a specific breed of goat for this to work.
Is that what this is coming down to? Just basic pheromones?
I mean, we'll get to it.
Oh my God, Dusty.
So the problem, though, was that for the hospital to keep its clientele, it needed to have some upgrades that the town didn't have, such as electricity, plumbing, a sewer system.
As we've discussed.
Yes, so John invented the property tax. So the people of Milford, though, were so shocked and excited by the volume of people that John was bringing to their incredibly tiny town, they all agreed to incorporate as a city and get to work getting all of that fancy future tech as quickly as they could. And then 1 year later, John's general store burned to the ground and took the whole business block with it. And you know he wasn't insured.
No, so this wasn't even like, oh no, it burned and now
Nope.
we have insurance money.
Nope. It was a pure fuck up that burned down the entire business district of this 200-person town.
Oh my God.
So now John has to take out a $30,000 loan to rebuild the main square, which he was going to call the Brinkley block. And he made plans to rebuild his general store, but also get a post office, a barber shop, a restaurant, and a butcher. But by the end of 1919, the number of clients to his hospital had started to wane. They were having difficulty keeping the place full. Brinkley suddenly had to declare bankruptcy as their bills became overwhelming. And now I have no idea how they did this, because by 1921, they were now $35,000 in debt. But John had been able to push through his plans for the town and got them electricity, running water, a sewer system, and sidewalks.
Damn.
Not only that, but he had the main road paved. He gave out ducks, geese, and turkeys during Thanksgiving and Christmas and bought a fucking bear to start a local zoo. However, the bear was making too much noise at night, and so he went out and he shot it.
No. Oh.
Which speaks a bit to John's other side, an impulsive and violent drunk.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, because it's like, I knew that cat story was only the beginning.
That's not even the first cat he ever killed. There was a story of when he was a kid and a cat killed, I think it was like his favorite pigeon or something. So he killed the cat for doing it. Always a good sign when a child kills animals.
Yeah, that's not a red flag or anything.
So in 1918, Minnie's dad came to town for a visit. And he left pretty quickly. Town rumors spread that after quite a bit of booze and some arguing, John pulled a gun on his father-in-law. Other such incidents included John taking an axe to someone's car tires, chasing patients out of the hospital with a butcher knife, and removing the ear of his colleague, Dr. Horatio Dwight Osborne. Now, no one really can agree on how Horatio lost his ear. The top two theories are that John bit it off during an argument, and the other is that John cut it off with a surgical knife while Horatio tried to stop him from attacking a patient who was trying to escape.
Those are both bad options.
No, there's no good choice in either. I will add that Horatio kept working at the hospital for quite some time after this.
Oh, Horatio, you deserve better.
And that also wouldn't be the only time that John attacked Horatio. The second time, John got drunk and he got his gun and proceeded to just shoot wildly throughout the town. The local sheriff got called and said, John's shooting up the place and everyone's hiding in their homes. So before the county sheriff could go out there and get John, John showed up to the county sheriff's office, according to the sheriff, completely sober, and said that a fight had started because he caught 10 people gambling. And this all ended with John being found guilty of disturbing the peace and was fined $2,000. Each of the gamblers were then fined $5 apiece.
Wait, there were actual gamblers? That wasn't.
I don't know.
Okay.
This guy's
All
a cash cow. We can't let gamblers ruin this.
Oh boy.
So you put some holes in the house. That's weatherizing. Make the summer breathable. And while finances weren't perfect, John had been blessed enough to discover that his goat gland procedure also helped cure dementia, emphysema, and flatulence. It also happened to be a wildly booming market in questionable medicine, with doctors experimenting with glands all over the world, using monkeys, dogs, and guinea pigs. The treatment would begin to gain a foothold in popular culture, culminating with a book and adapted play called Black Oxen. And you're going to love this. Great story. It's about a 60-year-old socialite who is, she's losing her vigor, losing her voom. So she goes and gets the gland treatment. And suddenly there's a young journalist and an Austrian prince vying for her attention in a love triangle of animalistic passion.
It's like a shitty, smellier version of Dorian Gray. Switch? No, oh my god, that would be even better. I was thinking of Dorian Gray.
Oh my god. I keep the gland in the attic.
Yes. Also, I can't stop thinking about the scene in The Graduate where he's just like plastics, but instead of plastics, he's saying glands.
Goat glands.
Goat glands.
There's a story I cut out where in 1920, this Russian French doctor who was the guy who's like the monkey gland guy, came to Chicago to show how it was done. And Brinkley heard about this, and in a fury, he drives to Chicago, tries to break into the operating room to yell at this guy for stealing his work. The press end up being like, hey, what's with this guy? And he's like, I'll show you how it's fucking done. And he goes to another operating room and starts doing goat gland procedures. He does 30 in the weekend.
No, this is insane.
I mean, this is just medicine. I don't know why you're so...
Everything was such chaos.
So John did realize that, like, look, I probably can't just focus on goat glands for the rest of my life. I need to diversify. I need to have multiple things. One newspaper noted that he was one of the first doctors to successfully transplant an eye between two living creatures. He claimed to have transplanted an eye between two rabbits, and he vowed that he would keep going through bigger animals until he finally figured out how to make it work for people. He never did.
Okay.
He did make the claim to have cured external cancer via radium treatment and offered it free of charge to anyone who needed. The real dick of this is that he absolutely did not invent radiation treatment for cancer. It's believed that Emil Grubb of Chicago was the first to use this practice in 1896, but there's really no concrete evidence to prove it. That being said, radiation treatment was very much being done, but in larger cities at that time. So despite medically diversifying, John still just had regional fame and it was waning. What he needed was like a national push. And he'd end up getting that in 1922. Harry Chandler, the owner of the Los Angeles Times, had heard of John's surgeries and invited him to the city to perform them in front of him. Harry would volunteer himself, as well as a few of the paper's editors, for the procedure.
Cat.
He even pushed the state of California to give John a 30-day medical license because they were not going to give him a license to begin with because they do not note eclectic medicine as a proper education to practice medicine in California.
Maybe stick to your guns, California.
But a rich guy's asking. We got to do it's 30 days. What's he going to do? I'll tell you what he's going to do.
Oh, no.
So John and Minnie go down to the Alexandria Hotel, which I mostly know as a hotel above a bar that is very raucous, that has a penthouse that people who really like meth tend to rent out, but also has a really nice ballroom. It's a very Los Angeles place.
Love it.
So they get a room there and they just start doing the surgery in the room. They're charging $500 per patient, which is $8,500 today. Harry goes first, and after the procedure is so impressed that he told John he is undercharging. And John agreed, and all further surgeries after that were $750. But John also has a secret menu item. You have to know what to ask for to get it. It's like, an In-N-Out situation.
Yeah, I was just going to say, yeah, or Potbellies.
Yeah. If you want human gonad tissue, well, that's $2,000. $34,000 today. Anywhere from half to a full year's salary for most of us.
Indeed.
He definitely sold a couple.
That sweet, sweet human gonad.
Harry began spreading the word to all of his rich friends and had the procedure talked about on this newfangled shit called a radio station. Not only that, but John ended up in the city just in time for a new film to drop called How Human Life Begins. It was a strictly educational film, but it was about sex, which meant that everyone wanted to fucking see it. There were separate showings for men and women, just like in middle school, and no one under 21 was allowed. The real boon, though, is that one of John's former patients, William Stitsworth, and his son Billy were featured in the movie, and they mentioned John Brinkley and his goats by name.
Oh, you can't buy that kind of advertisement.
You cannot. I don't know how much they paid for it, but you can't buy it. This brought in not just the secret pervert crowd, but supposedly a few movie stars even came in to get their parts working at maximum capacity. I'm assuming Douglas Fairbanks, maybe.
Yeah, Errol Flynn.
Oh, 100%. So when John and Minnie left the city, they made $40,000, or in today's money, $753,000.
God damn.
And I know what you must be thinking, Una. How does all of this work so well? And the quick answer is, it doesn't. It absolutely fucking doesn't. So John's working theory is that when you place a piece of gland on top of testes or ovaries, that the animal tissue would graft onto it and eventually meld together, becoming one absorbing the sexual powers or the testosterone or the festosterone. That's embarrassing. Yeah, and so that's the theory, is that, you put it in there, it's gonna, meld together, and then, it just kind of soaks into the body.
Like chocolate on the tongue.
Exactly. What he didn't know, and honestly what most doctors at the time didn't know until the 1950s, was that there's kind of an importance of using immunosuppressive drugs following a transplant. Without these drugs, there's a risk of the body rejecting the new organ or tissue and the immune system attacking it. In the case of these animal grafts, tissue would grow around them and nothing would really happen while the immune system attacked it and got rid of it. Essentially, what is happening is pure placebo and nothing else.
Amazing.
And John might have actually gotten away with it if he was only promising a cure for virility. But he was now branching out to other cures, including spinal cancer. Or at least that's what a spy from the American Medical Association found. So this spy would report back, and by this point, John wasn't just wealthy, he had gained a lifelong nemesis, doctor and quack hunter Morris Fishbane. But we might have to talk about Morris next time, because we're going to have to push this to a part 2.
Hey!
So Una, I hope I've convinced you to get this surgery. It's highly important that all of us decimate the goat population.
Jesse, this is so disgusting.
Not great.
All of this is so terrible. I love that it's just like bad boner medication throughout history.
I mean, I'm actually going to send you the ad that features John Brinkley and Goat Gland Billy.
Oh, poor Billy.
Look, he sounds like he grew up to be a very nice man who's just like, I would have been born either way. It doesn't goddamn matter.
Genuinely, the fact that like all that happens is your immune system just like goes after it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really is a miracle that more damage hasn't been done in this process.
Yes,
especially from a drunk, violent man with
Goat Gland. That's a fat, happy kid.
That sure is. That is a kid who they invented the bowl for that haircut. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Oh my God. This is like nothing's changed.
Nope. Yeah. The ad shows Dr. Brinkley holding Billy. This Kansas surgeon uses goat glands to cure sterility. First goat gland baby. The baby kind of looks like kind of like Andy Richter a little bit.
Yes, 100%.
And Dr. Brinkley has those small circle glasses that unfortunately make him kind of look like he was at Treblinka at some point. It's very unfortunate, but yeah, it's
like an evil FDR cousin.
Yes. He's but yeah, so this is this guy has more ahead. He now has a nemesis. He has more political aspirations ahead of him. At least 2 more careers we haven't even gotten to yet.
Oh no.
And Una, his business is going to grow quite a bit.
But by how many inches, Dusty?
Look, it's measure a man's worth, not by the deeds he's done, but by the inches he's created. That's a good note to end on, right? That's not the worst. Yeah. Talking about goat testes. It's a great day. I'm sure you were very ready for this when you woke up this morning.
There's just like, there's not enough grift in my life where, I don't dive into my spam folder that often.
Yeah. If they were this creative still, I'd respect it a little more. This is the sort of outside the box thinking that 5 weirdos were like, yeah, but different animals. Like, you have the right idea. You're just, you need to use a fucking elk testicle. That's the only way this is going to fucking work.
It's just, you never think you're going to sit down and realize like, just have some ginseng. Jesus Christ.
I feel like it has to be somewhere in the eclectic Medica book that there has to be something in there for impotence. But I guess like vanilla will make you fuck, but only if you can. Like we can't, force you. So yeah, I'm excited to talk about this guy being seriously considered for responsibility.
I can't wait to see what his reaction to that is.
It's perfectly normal. No more cats die, I don't think. So that's a bonus. Either which way, thank y'all for joining us this week to this highly adult conversation. And we'll continue the story of this man I have to call a doctor next week here on Gadfly. Doing surgery. Gadfly is a production of Added Serotonin. Our episodes are edited by Brianna Valentine of Rem Alternus Productions. Our theme song is Sophomore Makeout by Silent Partner, and you can find us on Twitter and Instagram at GadflyPod.
Ready to level up your cosplay game? Check out the Geek Forge on Etsy. With a variety of props to give your photos that extra spark, you'll find just what you need. Hold magical fire in the palm of your hand, or take a potion to restore your mana. With a large variety of colors, you can choose your own magical flavor for your cosplay. Bring drama to your photo shoots with these vibrant props and more, all available at the Geek Forge. Are you ready to level up your cosplay?